Alright guys, sorry about that. I had to delete the last video because the volume was incredibly low. Again, this is the first time I'm actually setting up doing this here, so sorry for the technical difficulties, but hopefully this actually comes out better. Now, to resume. So, this is the story, and this is not clickbait from the title. This is a story of how I lost $15,000 worth of fragrances. And, yeah, I flat out it sucked, and that's the reason for the delay that you saw and why I didn't post any videos, even though that was my plan. Because at that time when I posted the last video, I was in corporate housing. We are supposed to be moving over, and this was supposed to be done, but $15,000 worth of fragrances gone, kaput, vanished, gone. So, for this story to make sense, I'm going to have to give you guys some sort of background here. So, if that's not your interest, feel free to click away. But this is the story of how I lost this $15,000 fragrances, what I plan on doing next, if you will. All right, so let's start. So, as many of you know, my wife and I, we decided to move. I'd currently been living in New York City pretty much for almost all of my adult life. And we decided to turn around and say, okay, well, let's move to Tampa, Florida. Now, there's going to be a separate video detailing out why. The short end of the stick is cheaper, family around, and we want more space. That's pretty much it. But there will be a more detailed video about those decisions at some other time and point in the future. Yeah, so with that aside, so we decided to move to Tampa. So the first step was selling our existing apartment. So we sold our apartment in downtown Brooklyn, and immediately around the same time, we ended up purchasing a home here in Tampa. Now, the caveat of the home is that it actually wasn't an existing home, but the home was being built. So a brand new build in Tampa, and the idea was it would be finished around January 24th. Right now, we closed in New York City around December 17th or so. Right, so we had about a month and a half lag in between when we closed and when we would be able to move into our new home. Right now, typically around that time, we end up going to Tampa for Christmas anyway and staying with my wife's sister. This time we would stay a little bit longer, but immediately after that, we actually ended up renting what's called corporate housing. And corporate housing is basically an apartment, but the difference is it's furnished, right? So you don't need to furnish and everything, and it comes pretty much with all the bells and whistles and everything set up. So all you have to do is move in, stay there for a bit, and then move out, right? So that's what we did. We ended up getting this corporate housing, and after that period came up, in the very beginning of January, like January 1st or something like that, we ended up moving into corporate housing, and all was swell and all is well. Now, in this arc of the story, the one thing I didn't mention was the was our stuff back in New York City, right? So because of this month and a half long lag and the fact that we would be moving continuously like 2 or 3 times before we ended up in our home, we decided it would probably be best if we simply hire a moving company in order to take our boxes, hold on to our boxes in storage, and then deliver them to us once we get to our final destination, which is our home here in Tampa, right? So that's what we did. I hired this company, First Rate Moving, and they actually did a great job of what I thought outside of it. So they went through. They are very meticulous. They actually numbered each box. Each box was then sealed up and made sure that you couldn't really access it or get inside of it. All of our bikes or anything like that were all sealed up and wrapped in moving or packing cloth or whatever it is, and then sealed up, kind of like if you've ever been to the airport in like if you've gone overseas to some of these countries, they have you actually seal up what your luggage and like saran wrap. They had kind of like that system kind of going on here, right? So all in all, we had about 110 boxes, I believe, that we ended up having them essentially take out of our place, move, hold on to, and deliver to us, right? So January 24th rolls around, which is when we actually had our closing. And the way it works with the moving company is they give you a week's kind of time frame, right? Because once you tell them, okay, deliver it this week, they're going to deliver it sometime during that week. They don't give you an exact day just because it's coming via truck. You never know, some things might happen. There might be some delays and stuff like that. So they give you a week's window. So they just happened to actually deliver on the day that we closed, like literally as we were signing the papers and closing on our home. They had been calling us, basically saying, "Hey, we want to drop off your stuff." So immediately after the closing, I had to go drive back to our home and then have them unload all the boxes. And we just loaded all the boxes into the garage because we technically would not be ready to move into our new home until some things were taken care of, right? Since we both work from home, we needed an internet connection. We couldn't move in before we had an internet connection, right? We had to get our electricity set up. We had to get our water set up. Again, brand new home. So we had to get a lot of new stuff set up. We had to go out and get new furniture, right? And so we worked with Rooms to Go, and Rooms to Go had a delivery of our furniture coming in and all that good stuff, right? So all this to say is we actually unboxed gradually over the period of about a month and a half up until probably earnestly about mid March or so, right? So that's what we're doing. We're unboxing and everything like that. Now, one of the other things that we actually had installed was we had redone was our closets, right? We have a huge walk-in closet in our master bedroom. His and hers, we kind of divided along the sides, but we had cabinets, hanger, shelves. It looks beautiful, and we had that installed. And so I took my fragrance cooler and put it in. I'm like, okay, now I'm ready to unpack my fragrances, right? So I go through and start unpacking my fragrances and start unpacking the boxes, and I'm doing really well, right? And unpack them, and I'm like, all right, I'm just putting them in the cooler right now. I'll organize them later. And then I start looking, I'm like, wait a second, where are all my top shelf fragrances, right? When I mean top shelf, I'm talking about my Creeds, I'm talking about my Tom Fords, I'm talking about my Parfum de Marly, I'm talking about my MFKs, my Le Labos, you name it. Like all of my top shelf fragrances were there, and I consider them top shelf because I actually still kept the boxes for them, right? So when I packed them, these were the ones that I actually just put back in their boxes, sealed up, and then kind of packed it up into this huge box and had them there. So I had that box. In total, I had like 4 boxes worth of fragrances that I shipped down, right? So this was the only box that I couldn't find. So I immediately got up, went looking around the house against all of the boxes that were not open at this point. Because again, we had like 110 boxes and we were down to like maybe 8 boxes. So I'm like, this can't be right. I don't see my box of fragrances here. So I go through and sure enough, it's gone, right? That one box, probably the most expensive box in all of our things that we brought down outside of maybe Becky's jewelry. I can never say that name or that word, jewelry. Anyways, outside of that, this was the most expensive box that we had, right? So, at this point, I'm pretty upset. I'm looking out everywhere, and to be perfectly honest, at that point, I was like, you know what? I'm done with fragrances. F this. I'm freaking done. That it was, to be perfectly honest, the monetary value even wasn't the big thing. It was more the experiences, right? So, these were fragrances like, for example, every day on the first day of summer, I would always take out my Virgin Island water, spray it on. I'd have my, my light fitting shirt on, and, I'd go out and just enjoy myself, right? Beginning of fall, right? I would always have on, actually, the fall one, strangely enough, I didn't lose. I didn't lose my Spiritu, which is, thank God. But anyways, you name it, depending on the scenario, my wedding day scent, right? My date night scents, I had, you name it, gone, right? All of those gone. My suit and tie fragrances gone. Like those, they're just gone, right? And so to me, it was more the experiences and those memories that they evoke that are just all gone now, right? So it was less about the money, to be perfectly honest, and more about the fact that the fragrances are just gone. So, as with all major decisions, I kind of was like, all right, just sit on it, just wait, don't announce that you're quitting or anything like that. Just wait, give it some time, see how you feel, and so now about a month later, I've kind of given it some time. I'm like, all right, you know what? It's not the end of the world. It really sucks, but I can always rebuild up my collection, right? Again, money isn't the issue here for me. So I'm like, all right, fine. Maybe I'll even turn this into a thing. Because basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over the fragrances that I have left and decide whether or not I want to keep or get rid of them, whether or not I'm really going to wear them. Because now that my primo ones are gone, it's like, okay, what really do you wear here? So I'm going to do a video where I essentially go through what I have left and then kind of separate the wheat from the chaff or whatever the saying is. I'm gonna pick out my best ones that I have left and I actually will wear, and keep those separately. Oh yeah, even all my the God, I think those are gone too. All of my like, my Terry Mugler, those the ones except the ones that I didn't take exactly with me. I took a couple with me that I was going to keep within. Yeah. So I reached out to the moving company, and they were like, "Yeah, sure. You just have to file a claim, and we'll go buy your insurance." And I'm like, "Okay, cool." And I looked into it, and I realized I didn't actually look at their insurance before, I signed on with it. Their insurance, you have to actually sign up for a better insurance afterwards, which the person that I spoke to did not let me know or tell me, because had that been the case, I surely would have done it. But the default insurance, the way it goes, is it's based off of pound, off of weight. So if you have a 100-pound armoire that is lost or damaged, they will pay you $60 for it, right? For fragrances, clearly that's not going to work, right? These fragrances are 4 ounce or whatever the case may be bottles, are so it's just not going to work, right? They're basically going to give you like 60 cents for a creed or whatever the case. I didn't even do the calculation, because once I realized it was by weight, I was like, this is absolutely ridiculous. There's no point in me even submitting anything for it, right? This is going to take off. This is going to cost me more in time for me to catalog it than I'll actually get back. So so there's no option of retribution from there. And then they did look for it, and within the moving frame there were actually two other families that were moving down and had huge boxes. So in the truck, we were actually the second box that came through, and I was wondering, perhaps it was delivered to one of those other families, and I think that's actually what happened. But I think what happened is whoever they delivered it to got the box, realized what was in, and just never said anything, right? And has basically said, no, these are ours, or whatever the case may be. I think that's the most recent, or the most logical thing, because none of the other boxes were touched. All of the other fragrance boxes, everything else that we had shipped had gotten there perfectly fine. So I genuinely think it got mixed up within that and was accidentally delivered to another family, and they just kept it. I think that's what happened. I don't think anyone at the company actually, stole it or anything like that. I genuinely think that it was part of the mix-up. Family realized what they had. They just kept it. So my lesson to you is read the fine print when you are moving. I've moved multiple times, and this was the first time that anything had ever happened like this. And again, the chances, the one box, geez, it still gets me heated. But but I'm going to use this time. I'm going to turn around and use this time to truly only purchase fragrances that I am absolutely going to use, not just for the sake of reviewing or anything like that. And so some of the others, there's going to be a purge. You're going to see that video coming through, and we'll go through from there. So yeah, that's the story of how I lost. And that was roughly, again, $15,000 worth of fragrances. I've often showed my collection here. I just want you to look at those videos and just chop off the absolute creme de la creme, and that is, what I lost. So yeah, it is what it is. C'est la vie. But yeah, so I'll be back doing videos. Things will be a little bit different. I'll start with that video and we'll go from there. All right. Hope you guys are having a better first move-in. But outside of the move-in, the place is great. I may actually do a video on that, but my home is great. I love it here. Plenty of space. I have my own office that you see here in, and yeah, it's great. That's my work machine over there on the side. But yeah, good stuff. All right. Thank you guys. Take care of yourselves, and you guys have a great day. Take care.